Now, in this series, I'm going to focus on the latest and greatest in the world of scientific discoveries. And what better way to start than with the research on the biggest challenge facing our world right now, coronavirus. Now, a few days ago, the New England Journal of Medicine came out with one of the most recent reports of one of the most promising treatments out there for COVID-19, a drug called Remdesivir. Now, while the results of that paper are super cool, and I'll cover them in just a second, I think it's really fascinating to actually understand how Remdesivir does what it's supposed to do. And so for that, let's dive into the cell. So cells do a lot of things, right? You have muscle cells that contract, you have liver cells that process toxins, you have brain cells which shoot signals all over your body to make you do, well, everything. And all of those things require proteins, which are basically cellular tools, which your cells have figured out a pretty simple series of steps to make. Now, in essence, that process starts with DNA, which are like written descriptions of the tool. That's passed off to RNA polymerase, an illustrator who basically draws what the tool should look like. That resulting picture, the RNA, is then passed on to the ribosome, which is kind of like a 3D printer, which takes the design and actually prints the final tool. Now, coronavirus is pretty special because when the virus comes into the cell, it basically releases a ton of RNA, or little pictures of different tools that the virus needs to make more of itself. Your trusty 3D printer can't really tell a difference between the cell's own RNA and the virus's RNA, and goes ahead and makes all of those tools, including this one picture of an art forger who looks like he's up to something. Now, the art forger here is RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, which is basically a super fancy way of saying that it can go back and copy the rest of the pictures and keep copying them. That allows more viruses to be made and released, which can now go around the body and out of the body to infect other people, which is bad. And that's what this drug, Remdesivir, tries to block off. Now, how exactly does it do that? Well, each of the individual paints that the art forger uses, the red, yellow, green, blue, those are individual RNA building blocks. So adenine, guanine, thymine, uracil. Remdesivir is basically a modified version of adenine, which stops RNA from being copied completely. So imagine it sort of like a shiny coat of blue paint that ruins the painting by preventing any other paints from being added on. So, cool. This all sounds pretty great, right? You stop the art forger from making more virus, the lung cells stay healthy, and no one dies, right? Well, let's talk about what the science actually shows. In this paper, about 1,000 patients with COVID-19 were enrolled from sites all over the world, and half of them got Remdesivir, and half of them got placebo, which is basically a chemical without any real medicine. Now, according to this paper, Remdesivir made the biggest difference for patients who came in needing extra oxygen, but not needing ventilators. So these would be the people you see walking around with oxygen masks. Now, overall, normally people got better in 15 days, but with the drug, people got better in 11 days, so 4 days faster. And in terms of mortality, it turns out if you take 100 people, at 2 weeks, 4 more people would be alive with this drug than without it. So, will Remdesivir cure coronavirus for everyone? Short answer, probably not. But with over 5 million people infected with COVID-19 worldwide, those seemingly modest differences, the 4 fewer days or 4% more survivors, all of that means that Remdesivir is actually a really big deal. And hopefully, there will be newer and better advances to report on soon. Until then, I hope you join me next time to explore more of the newest and coolest science out there.